RMC has run into a bit of a problem. It's feeling like all wood coasters that should be RMC'd already have, or the park has an RMC, so it would defeat the purpose. This is kind of the same situation that B&M Invert was in 20 years ago, and that model kind of died, though we can look forward to ground up RMCs to satisfy our needs. Nevertheless, the options are growing increasingly limited as GCI Titan Track and RMC Retrack grows popular. I mean, look at Jorson the Drop, perfect pronunciation by the way. It's Europe's first appearance of Titan Track and will probably put RMC far away from that coaster for at least a little bit. In today's video, we will count down 10 coasters that are most likely to be RMC'd. It's really hard to put these in a good order, so all the top 10 are very close to each other, so what's in last can be in first. You know the drill. Also, I know the title says these coasters will be RMC'd, but like one or two actually will. Up in the number 10 spot is Monster at Laurent. This PTC coaster is one of the more well-known RMC candidates. It's like once a week someone mentions how this is next up and RMC should be looking at it and whatever. The thing is, Laurent is like the Michigan's Adventure of Six Flags. I mean, look how much Coaster Studios hated it. This park gets no investment. It's been 12 years since they have gotten a coaster, and the last coaster that they got was a piece of trash SLC. So yeah, it's not looking too good. Someone uses this as an argument as they're due for a new coaster, but I see that as the exact opposite. Especially with the new CEO, Celine Basile is more unpredictable than your high school girlfriend. And enough about Laurent, Monster is rough and boring for the most part. There are some good laterals, but that's all what you can write home about. This is the chemical formula to what makes a bad roller coaster, and basically what makes it in contention of getting RMC'd. Also, this is a dueling coaster, so there is a potential for a dueling RMC iBox like Twisted Colossus. We haven't seen anything since that, so I definitely think it's a possibility. We also have to look at something like Gwazi and how they turn a dueling coaster into a completely different masterpiece. So yeah, Monster is a great candidate, but it's most likely not going to get RMC'd because Six Flags hates the French. The number 9 spot goes to the Boss at Six Flags St. Louis. This GCI was made 22 years ago, and you could see the age in how it rides. This coaster is rough, seriously rough. Unlike Monster, this ride had a serious potential to be good, but it's most definitely not. The most common complaint has to be the roughness. Like a lot of other wooded coasters, it has not aged well, which puts it in for RMC candidacy. In fact, this coaster got so rough that in 2018 they removed the final helix. Six Flags knows this ride sucks, but will Six Flags do anything about it? I had no idea. Six Flags St. Louis is another park that was left out to rot. Their last major investment was 9 years ago, and that was a boomerang. Also, another quick thing to mention is this park has another GCI that rides a lot better in American Thunder, so theoretically, if Boss was RMC'd, there would still be a quality winning coaster to go back to, which makes even more sense for an RMC conversion. However, it's still not going to happen. In the A spot is Racer at Kings Island. Now, this may come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I truly think Racer would be a good RMC candidate. Now, this comes for many reasons, but the first is Kings Island is a park with major investments. This park is not shy about getting new coasters. Technically, they are not due for a new coaster as Orion opened up in 2020, but RMC is cheap, so it could be a worthy addition. The main reason is Kings Island has 3 wooden coasters. The first one is Mystic Timbers, which is a world-class elite wooden coaster. The next 10 years, I do not want to RMC anywhere near Mystic Timbers. It's already so good, and I would take GCI Titan Track over anything. The other one is the Beast. Now, some would say that this coaster is a good RMC candidate. I mean, I could kind of see it. It would be cool for RMC to do it and put in a vertical loop as a nod to its past, but I still don't think it's going to happen. This PTC wooden coaster is so incredibly unique, and the best part is, it's not incredibly rough. It has some slight jackhammering, I mean every wooden coaster does, but it's very doable. The complaint most people have about it is it does nothing, and yeah, the trims kind of hit hard and the forces are a bit weak, but flying through the woods, I mean, come on, you can't hit on that. So Beast is staying where it is, and the third wood coaster is Racer. This is still not a completely bad ride, but I feel like with the Beast and Mystic Timbers there, it kind of lost its place in the lineup. The only thing unique about it is that it duels, and you could totally make a Twisted Colossus type thing and have an RMC iBox duel. The only reason why it won't happen is that this coaster is very old and has stood its test of time. In fact, it turned 50 years old this year, and you cannot tell that at all. It's also an ace coaster landmark, so people might not value the trade-off for an RMC. But nevertheless, I think Racer is a great candidate and a well worth investment for an RMC conversion, though it might not happen depending if Kings Island wants to preserve its long history. In the number 7 spot is Zeus at Mount Olympus. This CCI creation is 25 years old and is also absolutely terrible. What? Maintenance at Mount Olympus is questionable. I mean, the safety in general is questionable, so like, of course this coaster aged terribly. It's rough, forceless, I would say boring, but it's not boring. When are you ever bored when you're in pain? So yeah, it's a great contender. But also, this park has never had anything but wooden coasters. They definitely could pull a Holiday World and buy an RMC conversion, but will they? I have no idea. Also, I have no idea how they get their investment money when they're charging like $20 a ticket, but RMC is cheap, so who knows. The 6th spot goes to Hoosier Hurricane. This is a much more bold prediction as Hoosier Hurricane is not entirely bad. It's a bearable and good ride experience. The thing is, there's another better wooden coaster at this park. I mean, it's slightly better, but it's still better. There's also a third word coaster, but to call it a coaster is just an interesting statement. It literally looks like a backyard roller coaster. Because Cornwall Express is better than Hoosier Hurricane, and because Indiana Beach opened a coaster this year and one next year, I think it's a reasonable outcome for an RMC conversion. Remember how I said if Six Flags St. Louis RMC'd the Boss, then American Thunder would still be standing to act as a wooden coaster? Yeah, I think the opposite is more likely. I think American Thunder will get an RMC conversion and the Boss will stay. But wait, why would the Boss not get the RMC conversion if it's like way worse than American Thunder? It's because the Boss is way more iconic, carries a lot of more value to the park, and also is a much more cooler coaster in general, so keeping it as it is a priority for the park. I mean, flying above the trees is hella cool, so why not? So American Thunder, the uninspired GCI, would get the conversion, while the Boss would either stay standing as it is, or get a retrack, maybe even GCI Titan Track. That would be 2 insane wooden coaster conversions, wouldn't it? In the number 4 spot is probably the most talked about RMC conversion, Hurler. When you think of big Cedar Fair parks that do not have an RMC yet, the first that comes to mind is most likely Carowinds. The lineup at this park is pretty stacked, and adding that conversion would make it god tier. Hurler at Carowinds is kind of garbage. It is forceless and quite rough. The reason why people talk about it so much is Hurler is a clone of Hurler, the one at King's Dominion. This Hurler got turned into Twisted Timbers, which is one of the best RMCs to date. Even with less than 100 feet to its name, Hurler proved that RMC could turn anything into a masterpiece. A lot of people just want Hurler at Carowinds to be gone. I have seen people say just clone Twisted Timbers, though I don't think RMC will want to do this. They did clone the Raptors, but it would kind of feel an off to clone an iBox, especially because you are converting an older coaster into a newer one. The one thing standing in the way though is Cedar Fair's Rocky Pass with RMC, no pun intended. I mean, it sounds like most of the issues are sorted out now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but still, to invest into a company that you don't trust is not how things work in life and business, but I definitely think Cedar Fair will be down to RMC this if they ever got over their troubled history. Okay, in the number 3 spot is Wild Beast. This is an amazing RMC candidate. Canada's Wonderland is one of Cedar Fair's prized possessions. They got Leviathan in 2012 and Yukon Striker in 2019. They're not due for a coaster anytime soon, but they still have an amazing RMC candidate. For one, there is no ejector airtime machine at this park, and the closest thing you have to that is Leviathan, so an RMC is very well fitted here. Another thing to mention is that this park is completely landlocked, so an RMC conversion would add into their lineup without taking up much space. And probably the biggest reason for an RMC conversion is that Wild Beast absolutely blows. In the world of incredible coasters, the ride is painful, slow, dreaded, boring, unbearable experience. Yeah, it's not looking too hot for this ride. Additionally, Canopie Coaster literally put in his title of their review, "Should Cedar Fair call RMC?" This coaster is absolutely nothing to write home about, so it's what makes it a god tier RMC candidate. Wild Beast is a great candidate, but will Cedar Fair amend their ties with RMC? I have absolutely no idea. The number 2 spot is Bandit at Movie Park Germany. Bandit is absolutely terrible. You should go read Incredible Coaster's review of it. It's so funny what they said. Anyways, Bandit is probably one of the worst coasters in the world. It's so incredibly rough. The jackhammering is like out of this world, and you just don't want to go through the headache of riding this, except for the credit of course. So that's what makes it a good RMC candidate, a terrible wood coaster. My editor told me that the Bandit is pretty popular and the park owner has came out and said Bandit is not going anywhere, but I couldn't find any evidence to back it up. Nevertheless, this is what you get from RCCA, the worst coaster in the world. Also, Movie Park Germany has hella money, so they could totally drop it on an RMC, I just don't think they want to right now. The number 1 coaster that is most likely to become RMC'd is Coaster Express at Park Warner Madrid. If you thought Bandit was bad, take that and multiply it by 2. It's absolute garbage. This coaster was also made by RCCA, so you could just see how bad they are at making coasters. Definitely one of the worst manufacturers ever. Even Alan Herschel is better. So an RMC is much needed for the same reason as Bandit. This park has seen some heavy investments in the past with their B&M Floorless and their new Intamin Blitz. The new for 2023 Blitz though does put them out of cycle for a new coaster. However, since Coaster Express is so bad, I totally see them hitting up RMC in the next 5 years, and it would add so much to their lineup and remove a god-awful excuse of a coaster. And it's as simple as that. If you have the worst coaster in the world, call up RMC, they will turn it into a great one. Let me know if I forgot anything in the comment section below or if you agree with me or not. That's all for today's video guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.